And right now, I would like to bring up Sister Khalifa in the house. Get it right. We got so many fine sisters in here tonight, I'm telling you. All right.
Wow, I'm having a great time. You guys having a good time? Wow, I wasn't going to tell a story because I really don't argue that much, right? But then when I was thinking about it, I said, well, geez, there's a lot of stories I can tell. And so this particular story literally happened this past Tuesday. And I got to give you a little bit of background. My father, it's about my father, but my father, he's the oldest of 12 children. And his mother, she's only 16 years older than him, right? So my father, he married my mom, and they had 2 children, myself and my brother. And so he grew up, and he became a sheriff's lieutenant. He retired from the sheriff's department, ran for sheriff in San Francisco, and so from that policing, he became this tough guy, right? This tough guy always had to prove himself, right? But I know him as the sweetest, most tender, most gentle person ever, right? And people rarely get to see that side of him. I mean, literally, my father has these 4 cute little toy poodles, right? But he's this big guy, 6'2", and he carries his poodles around in his little, carrier. And but that's how I know him. So anyway, him and my brother have been golfing every Tuesday for like the past 8 years. They golf every Tuesday. So I was living in Las Vegas, and I recently moved back to the Bay Area, and my father, we live together now, and I'm just in heaven, right? So every Tuesday, I babysit the dogs, and he, knocks on my door as he's leaving the house, and he says, okay, I'm leaving now. It's always like 6 in the morning. I'm leaving now. The dogs are fine. And so this past Tuesday, he knocks on my door, and okay, have a great time. He goes outside, and then my phone rings, right? And it's my dad. He says, hey, my car's gone. I'm like, your car's gone? And I'm not really awake, so I'm not processing this, right? He said, no, Deshaun, my car's gone. So I stand up, and I look out the window, because my room is like right there on the street. So I'm like, I didn't hear anything, nothing, right? And sure enough, I get dressed, I go outside, and his car's gone. We're like walking up and down the street. So then he just comes in and sits at the table, and he's just like, wow, someone stole my car, and my golf clubs are in there, and I have a lot of history with those golf clubs, and oh, my dogs, the little carriers in there, they love their carrier, and their blanket, and all these little personal things that were in his car. So I said, Dad, don't worry about it. Things happen. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. You're such a great guy. But let's just get on the phone, and let's just call the insurance company, and let's make the police report and just do everything we have to do. And I said, and then, let me take the children to school, and then what we'll do is we'll just go and rent a car for the week. So I make the arrangements for him to rent the car. And he gets a ride to pick up his rental car, and he calls me. He says, I can't rent the car. I said, why? What's happening? He says, they just told me that my license expired on my birthday last week. I said, oh, no, right? So it's just like one thing after another. So I said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Let's just go to DMV, and we'll get your license taken care of. So we go to DMV, and I'm sitting there with him, and, it's getting later and later, and I have some things to do. I said, I'll tell you what. I can just Uber back, and you can just drive my car back to the house later. He said, no, just leave me here, and you come and get me later. I'm sure it's going to be a while, so I do that. I leave, and then all of a sudden, I get a phone call from my father. Oh, I'm going to back up and say this. When we're at DMV, we go and we apply online, right? And so we're applying online, and we walk away, and then he says, oh, I forgot to put down the application number so I can take it to window 29. And so I go back. I said, no worries, let me go back. And I go back, and he's left this wallet sitting on the counter. I said, wow, Dad, look at your wallet. It's here. He said, oh, my gosh, right? What is happening today? So then in that moment, that very moment, when I saw the wallet, I was reminded of something. I was reminded of how sometimes we think something is really awful, but it turns out to be a blessing. So I wanted to share that with him. So I walk over and said, Dad, look, the whole car being stolen thing, you just never know. Maybe you would have been driving somewhere and you would have gotten into a car accident, or something worse could have happened, or you could have hit somebody or anything. You just never know what the blessing is in having your car stolen. So, he's kind of feeling a little bit better about it. And I leave, so I'm home taking care of some other stuff, and he calls me. He says, I just talked to your brother. And I said, what happened? He said, well, I told your brother this morning that I had my car stolen, and immediately he said, well, let me make a phone call, right? And I'm still not processing what he's saying. And he says, well, they know where my car is. I said, how? And so I'm really getting confused. What do you mean they know where your car is? He said, well, your brother said he talked to somebody, they know where my car is, now they're trying to get my golf clubs back. And I'm like, what is it? Let me call you back. So I get on the phone, and I call my brother. I said, what's happening? You know where the car is? I said, how do you know where the car is? He said, well, I called one of my folks, who called one of their folks, who called one of their folks, and I gave them the license number, and they said, yeah, this guy has your car. I said, what? I said, do you know the person who has the car? He said, no, that's not how it goes. You see, I didn't want to press the dude that I know, but yeah, they got Dad's car. So right now, I'm negotiating. I'm like, negotiating what? He said, well, they holding it for ransom. I said, holding the car for ransom? So now I'm really getting upset now. I'm like, they holding my father's car for ransom? You know these people? I never heard anything like this before. He said, yeah. I said, well, how much do they want for that? What were they asking for that? They said, well, this is what happened. They said they couldn't start the car, so they pushed the car. And I'm thinking, in my mind, they pushed the car, right? And so I'm like, all this happened while I'm asleep. I didn't hear none of this, right? So it's just mind-boggling. So he said, okay, so they pushed the car. What I'm hearing is they pushed the car, and they couldn't start the car, so they pushed the car. And, well, they were upset because when they started driving the car, after they finally got the car started and they could drive the car, it didn't go as fast as they wanted to. So they couldn't get the money for the car that they wanted to. And I'm like, I said, you know these people. So now the argument is about to start. So he continues. He said, I don't want to talk to you. So he hangs up the phone. I called my father back. I said, okay. My brother just told me that they're just waiting to get the golf clubs back because the deal is if everything is intact, then they'll pay him. I said, well, how much is it going to be? He said, I don't know yet. He said, my brother, my son told me to just have like $1,000 on hand. To get your car back? This is the most bizarre thing I've heard. I said, what is happening here? So anyway, long story short, at the end of the day, they made the deal, right? And it cost $1,200 to get the car back. My father went to the bank, got the $1,200, and so I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to find out from my brother, so where do you take the money to? He said, well, all you got to know is I'm taking the money to where the golf clubs are. I'm going to leave the money there, and they're going to tell me where the car is, and we'll go pick the car up. But I'm going to take Will with me. I said, you're going to take Will with you for what? You ask too many questions. I'm like, I don't know nothing about this life. I'm telling you. I don't know anything about this, right? So that's exactly what happened. They went, and they picked up the car, and they had the car towed. And so, my father, after all this, he comes home, he sits down, and it was the most bizarre thing ever. I couldn't believe it, that he actually had his car stolen, and someone held it for ransom, and he paid $1,200 to get the car back, and it's in the shop now. And that's my story.
All right, give it up for Khalifa, everybody.